my friend Jim. Very
Well,
long time missing you. We need to get together and do this more often, especially with some beers by the side.
absolutely, Alex. It's a great pleasure to see you again. And you're right. It's been too many days, too many months.
Many months. Yes. Well, Jim, as you know, Flowit Group has been mostly involved in legal tech for already a few years. And this past year in 2021, and especially in the 22 summit, we dove into the new world of the very weird acronyms like NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, the DAOs, the decentralized autonomous organizations. We did also a lot on the AI, the artificial intelligence, the IoTs, the Internet of Things. We did also the Web3, the metaverse, and all those weird things that a lot of people don't even know what those acronyms mean. But it's there, it's out there, it's a big thing. It's coming, I think, staying here for the future. But the important thing is that now in March in 2003, our next summit is going to be diving into another one, ESG, which is environment, social, and governance. And those principles are going to be there for the foreseeable future. They have always been there, they're needed, they're good. But now there's a lot of new compliances that need to be looked after, and they're going to be talking about this, which is, I think, it's pretty cool. And investors are going to be looking at this because there's a new consciousness happening, and we're going to talk about that later. But yes, people are more aware of environment and social people, and also doing the right things. The state of law and the governance and all those things. So we're getting into a lot of those weird new things for a lot of people, not so weird for others. But the other thing is that although this is all great and needed, it's coming and there's no stopping for this. The other big thing that I think it's universal, or well, universal, that much we don't know because we haven't been in touch with our friends out there for a long time, but at least global, to say the least. There is an underlying and underneath of all this, the human body, the physical avatar that we have. And all that comes with a lot of other things, which are also non-fungible, non-interchangeable, and pretty unique to each one of us, which is not only the emotions and the consciousness, but also the physical pain.
Sure.
And well, we have been just coming out of almost 3 years now of this pandemic, and now we're getting into what seems to be a new era. And I just want to get your feeling on, well, what's happening there? What do you see from there? What other pandemics are you seeing in your patients? People know already, they read a little bit of your bio, and you're a very famous chiropractor with many years behind. And you see people all over the place. And just a little advertisement, if you guys are ever around Avándaro or Valle de Bravo or Querétaro or San Miguel Allende in Mexico, just make sure that you contact Jim, because you cannot miss that. It's amazing. So anyway, sorry. What do you see?
It's great intro, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mentioned one thing that was very interesting was the fact that we're probably not going to be going back to life as usual, right? And it's interesting that in 2012, part of the Mayan prophecy was the fact that they mentioned that we are at the point of no return. The point of no return is we're not probably ever going to go back to normal, and we're going to be creating this new normal. But there are consequences, and the part physically is really interesting, because if you think about it, the onset of the computer, which was what, the late 70s, and then the 80s, and then the 90s and 2000s, we went from computerizing everything. And I did this in my offices in California. I resisted that change into computers because I was so used to the comfort zone of having a file, and everything was in handwriting. But yeah, we went computerized. And then the onset of the cell phone. And these changes that have occurred are just pretty similar to the horse and buggy versus the car. We look back at the horse and buggy and we say, oh, wow, this thing called the automobile is going to save us time. It's going to cut the distances in half and time. But you know what? It also created a lot of chaos. It created a lot more stress. And what we're finding now physically is this change from manual things to the computer, and now the cell phone that's not attached to the wall. It has created new physical problems that we never anticipated. And at least we never thought of these things actually happening. The latest craze or condition is called text neck. It sounds cute, text neck, but the truth is it has created a problem in our cervical spine and in our upper back that I've seen now in my clinics that I never saw before. As you said, I've been in practice 43 years, and I never had these things even show up until lately. And I'll go into some of the details about that. But I'll tell you where it really bothers me is how it's affecting our children, because their entire world in terms of school has changed as well. And they're now using cell phones and iPads almost exclusively while they're working in classrooms. And as a consequence, these little spines that are still forming and growing are taking a tremendous impact on their neck and their posture. And patients are reporting, and I'm talking little patients, from everywhere from 6 years old to, 18. There's an increase in migraine headaches, an increase in vision problems, increase in insomnia, increase in neck pain, in paresthesias, which is numbness and tingling in the fingers. And all of these are specifically related to the postural positions that one takes when they're using their cell phone in texting or in the computer if it's not properly addressed. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The transition into the need to be everything online, especially.
Let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think we should go a little bit back. And no, I don't think a lot of people know about what and where to put the computer, the keyboard. Just a little intro into that, because I think that's not clear. Nobody has taught us that. Maybe some people found out by themselves, but that's not taught anywhere. Not in schools, not in universities. Right. And just people take it for granted that any desk, especially now working from home offices, whatever is flat, it's an office. A coffee place is an office. Whatever is a coffee, you can have an office. But that's not the ideal solution. And I think the details are where the angles, the elbows, the head, the screen, the eyes, all those little details, they can make a a huge difference. So please just dive into that, please.
Okay. Actually, it's good you're saying that, because where I was practicing in California was very close to San Jose, which is Silicon Valley, of course. And Silicon Valley was the center of all of this, where all these things began. And we noticed that, yeah, aside from carpal tunnel syndrome from too many using the mouse, yeah, there was many conditions that have occurred ergonomically, where they've had to come in and invent things and change the angles and the heights of the computer, the screen, etc. Yeah, basically, ideally in Silicon Valley, what we found was that the screen, the bottom of the screen should be parallel to where your eyes meet. And it should be tilted in an angle where you can be slightly elevated, not inclined, but elevated. And so if I'm looking at a screen and the screen is at my eye level, I'm doing this so we can see it from our presentation right now. The bottom of the screen should be right about at eye level. It should not be lower than that, because as a consequence, we're in that position where the head is tilting. If it could maintain a neutral horizontal position or slightly elevated, we're going we're dancing with the normal anatomy of the cervical spine. Remember, if you can visualize this, we have two curves that are called lordotic curves. I'm going to turn my head so we can explain what we're talking about. As I look this way, there's a curve that creates like a reversal of a C in the neck. That's the ideal situation where your neck is in this curve. The minute that you start increasing that load in the inclination of the head to look at a screen, you're increasing the amount of stress on the cervical vertebra. And so maintaining a curvature in your neck by maintaining a neutral position where the eyes are at the level of the screen, that's ideal. They've also found something very interesting about position is the invention of what's called the standing desk. I'm sure you've heard of that, where you have this pneumatic desk where you're typing, and then after a certain number of minutes, which is actually around 50, you push a button and your entire desk raises so that you can stand up and continue to work. And then after a certain level of a number of time, you push the button, it goes back down, and you return to your sitting position. So these are very, very important, because the position of the screen, the position of your body in terms of the position of your elbows and your arms in the typing position are essential to allow the flow of energy, nervous energy, and circulation in your hands, in your arms, in your shoulders, in your neck. And it's amazing. You're exactly right, Alex. You talked about how people are at home and they make anything their home office, and they make their kitchen table their home office or their bed. And these positions that they're using are ergonomically disastrous for our neck, our upper back, even our lower back. You've seen there's a company, I'm not promoting any companies, but there's one that was called the Relax the Back store. And they popped up as franchises all over the United States, where they started selling ergonomic apparatus, particularly the chairs, the executive chairs that have lumbar and cervical supports, because they had the foresight to realize that the whole world is going in this direction. And so as a consequence, yeah, we must be very cognizant about the posture of our body, of our spine, because the symptoms come on very, very clearly and very rapidly, because we are in absolute excess in all that we're doing. You know, if the computer was designed to make our lives easier and faster and give us more free time, we're doing just the opposite with it. The transition into the in-house office from an executive building has created many havocs as a result of being out of balance in their health. And of course, when we say out of balance or I think in Spanish sometimes because I'm living in Mexico, but out of equilibrium, the word is out of homeostasis in healing. And what we're finding is anything in excess is not healthy. In fact, the three keys to longevity and health are moderation, simplicity, and rhythm or constancy, consistency. The problem, what we're finding, Alex, is that moderation doesn't exist in home offices. What you can do in 8 hours, you figure you can get more done by staying there and doing 16 hours. And maybe you'll be free tomorrow, but 16 hours in one position is not healthy. And I can tell you there's many, many people that are working, going after the American dream or going after, increase in revenues, and they're working way, 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 way out of balance. And as a consequence, symptoms are starting to show up.
Jim, I have this picture that, please just help me go through this.
Oh, yes. Yes. We're looking at an ergonomic picture of actually what happens when we are in that position texting. And you can see at zero position or in the neutral position, that normal weight of the head that is supported only by the cervical muscles, the muscles in your neck and the spine, are around 5 kilograms, which is somewhere between 8 and 10 pounds. As soon as we incline our neck forward, you can see by these numbers that the amount of weight that is being supported increases logarithmically. It's amazing. 27 kilos is around 59 pounds. Now, I could give you an example of how you could understand this, those that are connected, is if you took a 5-pound bag of sugar and kept it close to your body, you could probably keep it for about, I don't know, maybe a half an hour if you're muscular and physically fit. But the minute that you extend that out and straighten your arm out and hold that, I'm going to extend it this way, and hold the 5-pound bag of sugar or flour or whatever you want, how long do you think you could hold it there? It will be a matter of minutes, not an hour. You're talking probably under 3 minutes where your arm could not sustain it. Now imagine when you're tilting your neck forward to do typing on your texting, and your normal weight is 5 kilograms, and now you're increasing it to 27 kilograms. Can you imagine the amount of stress that's going on in your neck, particularly the cervical vertebra that are held together by cervical discs, which are like shock absorbers? In our cervical spine, we have a series of nerves that run from our neck down into our arms. It's called the brachial plexus. There are cables that go down and allow our bodies to do what we need to do. As soon as these nerves become compressed, the first thing we feel is numbness and tingling, and maybe loss of strength in the fingers. We also obviously get neck pain. And you can imagine when you even if we were talking for an hour, just like this, and our neck is bent over, eventually you'll see that Alex will be rubbing his neck, or I'll be rubbing my neck, and we'll be going, oh, wow, my neck's a little stiff. We'll do that for 8 hours, or do that for 12 hours or 16 hours, and do it 6 days a week. And then you're going to imagine what kind of pressure is going on in your neck with these movements and with the sustained positions. We are not designed for this. Moderation, simplicity, and rhythm indicate that we should be more moderate in our activities. Sometimes it's inevitable. What I teach with my patients, who are a large group of people that are now at home working, is after every 50 minutes, 50, you must change your positions. And if you can't, at least use that standing table and raise it. It's about 8,000. How much was it? It was about 8,000 pesos, Mexican pesos, which is about $400. But this is an instrument that will save you a tremendous amount of doctor bills and chiropractic bills just by investing in something that's going to help you all day long. It's almost like if you sleep in an orthopedic bed, which requires 6 to 8 hours of every day of our lives, versus a bed that's very old and very soft and doesn't support your back. You can imagine how much better an investment in a good orthopedic bed will be for your spine. Well, investing in an ergonomic table, a standing desk, is essential. It's like those mouse pads. Remember for the wrist, how that started preventing carpal tunnel? Well, this is the same thing, but we're facing a reality here that we can't avoid. And unfortunately, many people think that being at home and working from home is actually a big blessing. And it can be if you practice the laws of moderation and simplicity and rhythm. But there's many, many things that we need to do to prevent many of these symptoms that are occurring. Because,
Jim,
Alex, it is an epidemic. It's really out of control.
can you show us some simple exercises that we can do to loosen up or relax in those breaks that we do? Because I'm pretty sure that there's some exercises either to loosen up or to strengthen those muscles in the neck or in the back or whatever you suggest.
Yeah, I can tell you there's two parts to this. One is more or less therapy, and one is prevention or exercises that you can do before you even sit down at the computer or at your cell phone. So the first ones would be designed for stretching as a preventative measure, not only when you're in the middle of texting, but before you even sit down. You know, there's a saying that says, if you don't have time, time has you. And in the mornings, if it's morning, it depends on whether you're an early riser or a nocturnal type of person, you can certainly afford to take 15 minutes out of your day to begin before you start working. Because I can tell you, any athlete will never begin a soccer game or a basketball game or a baseball game without stretching and preparing to warm up the body before you start. So as a consequence, I even brought this just to show. This is a little towel that is in the form of a tube. And what you can do with this is you can place it behind your neck and lean back and stretch your neck. Now, this is just a warm up before you ever start. Leaning back and stretching with a tube towel. And then there are isometric exercises, and you've probably seen these before, many people have, is all you do is you take your hand, stick it behind your head, and as you exhale, you can lean forward and stretch your neck. And then, as a consequence, you can lean back and stretch your neck posteriorly. Then you can take your hand, either push this way to the side or reach over your head and stretch this way, and vice versa, of course, to the two sides. Those are stretching exercises, But you can also do what's called isometric exercises, where you can use your hand as a resistance and count to 5, leaning your head into your hand and waiting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then relaxing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 4 little exercises will strengthen the muscles and prepare them for your day. So stretching and tightening or isometric exercises will help strengthen the muscles and also create more elasticity with stretching of the ligaments and the tendons of the muscles and ligaments to help us sustain this position. And obviously being conscious of the position that we're in, because the positioning ergonomically is probably the #1 reason that we're having such problems today.
Jim, and another thing that I'm pretty sure that you have seen, but just share with our friends, if you have noticed this trend. Most of the audience today are going to be lawyers, a lot of them, financial people, business people, entrepreneurs, investors, and all those are high stress, very, very delicate issues that we have numbers from the US. There's no numbers in Mexico, but there's a lot of numbers from the US. Depression, stress, anxiety, suicide. I mean, big rise in suicide amongst these groups. And that's not fun. I mean, that's pretty nasty. And there's a lot of things happening. And also, there was a time not many years ago that yoga, meditation was the yo-yo things. But now it's becoming a mainstream exercise and a very important way of maintaining that balance, that equilibrium that you mentioned. What have you seen with your patients? And obviously you have a wide range of patients between kids now, students, housewives, executives of all sorts, older people. So what are you seeing there? How's that moving?
Absolutely, it's on the increase without a doubt, and that's here in Mexico, and in the States. Of course, it's probably twice as obvious, because people have a tendency to keep statistics there, but these tendencies are a result of an imbalance in mind, body, spirit, and emotion. If you think about it, there's no one that can exclude one of those parts. And you were mentioning the increase in the need for meditation. Now, there's a saying that says, if you can't find 20 minutes to meditate every day, you better meditate for an hour, because your whole life is out of control. And the other thing that I love is when they say, meditation is free. Not to meditate is extremely costly. There's plenty of evidence neuroscientifically about the benefits of meditation. You can probably hear now there's a thing called mindfulness. It seems to be, the new trend. In the 70s and 80s, it was transcendental meditation, that hit the West very strongly. Any kind of meditation, guided meditations, mindfulness meditations, which often are guided meditations, and transcendental, those will help tremendously, but not just in creating this equilibrium and reduction of stress, but also there's enough scientific evidence that when you're in the state of theta, which is the actual state that you want to reach when you're meditating, there's a factor that goes on in what's called the prefrontal cortex of the brain right here. That's our executive center. And that's our area that other animals don't have, where we have the ability to plan and to organize and put things in order and to have a vision of our future. We're the only animal that has that. And this is the only area of the brain that has evolved to the point where we can actually use that. So if number one, it reduces stress levels, which it does. Number two, the advantage of meditating is that you're going to incite and stimulate the prefrontal cortex, which is going to allow you to have better ideas, more vision, and an ability to handle the stress because of putting things in order in logic and realizing that stress is inevitable. Stress is inevitable. How you deal with it is a whole nother issue. So if someone was to say, do you think it's important to meditate? I say, it's essential. Essential means you can't live without it now. It's funny because I started meditating when I was 17 years old. That was exactly 50 years ago. And so when I tell people that I've been meditating for 50 years, I'm not exaggerating. And it has served me very well over the years in many, many areas of my life. But in this day and age, it's absolutely essential. So when I have a patient that comes in, the executives that come in, and it's funny because you mentioned where one of my clinics is. It's outside of Mexico City, but it's in an area which it would be kind of like a place where people run to on the weekends via de Bravo, where I get the opportunity to see a lot of champions, a lot of attorneys, a lot of notary republics, a lot of sports enthusiasts that are world champions. I get the honor to treat these people. And the first question I ask each one of them is, do you take vitamins? Do you meditate? Do you exercise? And are you drinking enough water? Those four questions I never omit from my patient history. And the truth is, meditation seems to be like the one that most people don't do. And then I go into the explanation, kind of what I just did with you. And the truth is, they get it. They get it. They understand it. And they're looking for it. They need it. They're looking for something to help them cope with what they're dealing with. And, there's one of the side effects of being in your home is the fact that you're creating an antisocial environment. And we are social human beings. We need to be connected, and not just virtually, but we need the physical presence. You could call it energy, you could call it vibration, call it what you want, but we need physical interaction with human beings. That's our nature. And the fact that we have been putting masks on our faces and being told you're not allowed to go outside and to stay in your house, and then to stay in your house to go to work, these are all really anti-human behaviors that are creating chaos within our perception of how we are designed to live. So people are very uncomfortable with this. They don't know how to deal with it. And to get back to basics with simplicity, moderation, and rhythm, they need to have social interaction. They need to meditate so that they can connect with their inner being and create this balance. And neurophysiologically, there are so many benefits to the science of meditation that even the most non-esoteric, the more logical brain, analytical brain can understand it, because it's science. This isn't just esotericism, it's real. So basically, yes, every one of these executives that are dealing with this, and the suicide is really just the tendency, the desire can be a result of various things. One can be a result of antidepressants. And another one is the confusion of what's it all about, Alfie? What is this life about? Is this all there is? And as you mentioned, these executives, many are often in that age of between 30, 40, and 50. And they're asking those questions. They used to be called a midlife crisis. But now what it is this all there is to life? Just going for the golden ring is one thing, but dealing with interactions and family and raising children and having fun with friends socially, those are being taken away, and they're being told you're not allowed to do this. This is creating a whole different set of issues that human beings were not designed for.
Jim, let me just switch you to the other area of expertise that you have, which is the human coaching, the emotional side of things, the non-visible things.
Yes.
While you were talking now about these topics and these ideas that you mentioned, there has been for ages let's call it a paradigm, to don't get into deeper things, but people get sick, they go to the doctor. They, especially in the Occident, on the Western world,
Sure.
but not so much on the Asian Eastern world. But what can you share with us? Because I've always had an issue with this, because the responsibility of having this wellness, the well-being, the mindfulness, and the health at the end, it's a personal responsibility. But we have been taught forever, and it's a program, that you get sick, you go to a doctor, the doctor fixes you. And I don't think the doctor fixes you crap. And sometimes they do, but and you fix a lot of people that need the actual tweaking. But where's that line between going for outside help and just leaving everything to the external and not taking responsibility for being in balance and health?
Oh boy, you've touched my favorite subject, as you well know. But I'll share something with you that goes along before I get into that answer. Imagine this: the word wellness actually comes from wellness, which means, as humans, it's very healthy to have social interaction and be together, and to cut that off and say illness means illness comes from illness, which means it's just about me. Now, we could talk about that from an ego standpoint, saying it's only about me, but we can also say the isolation of the human being put in a cubicle and in their home has created illness because there's no social interaction. But what you're talking about is something very interesting, because many doctors will say that this condition or that condition is incurable. And as you know, the word incurable means the cure is within you. And so, yes, going inside and finding the answers that are connected to mind, body, spirit, and emotion will help you grow, because we are here to learn our lessons. And our lessons are, how can we be more of service? How can we be more of love? And every one of the injuries or illnesses that we incur, there are no coincidences with these, that they're there to teach us things. So let's use diabetes. Now, of course, you go to the doctor and he says, yeah, your blood sugar's out of control. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what is diabetes? Diabetes is the inability to control the blood sugar in your blood, the sugar in your blood. What is the blood? If you were my brother, Alex, I would say you're my blood, which means you're my family. And here's the interesting thing. The sugar in the blood represents the sweetness of life. Now, I can tell you 95% of all diabetes is type 2, which is acquired, which means you weren't born with problems in your pancreas and the islands of Langerhans in the cells. No, these are things that have acquired from your diet, from your mental state. But when I can tell you this just from 43 years of experience, that almost 100% of the people that have type 2 diabetes, they've experienced some kind of emotional stressor that caused them to lose the sweetness of life. Whether their mother died and they were really connected, or somebody in their family, or they went through a divorce that was really painful and they developed diabetes. And so we have to say, Anton, what's the cure? The cure is, how did it serve me? Because behind every dark cloud is a silver lining, or every crisis has a blessing. And wisdom is when you can recognize what that blessing is. So how did it serve me? Or what was the benefit of this event that occurred? Instead of thinking that I'm a victim, and a victim causes these symptoms, and every symptom is a feedback mechanism to go inside you and find out what's the message and what is the lesson that I need to learn. If you really want to evolve consciously, because you mentioned the word consciously, if you want to learn how to improve and expand your abilities as a human being and evolve your consciousness, you need to go inside and look. And the cure is within, even when they say incurable. So you're exactly right. You do not give up your personal power by going to a doctor's office and saying, I got this problem, it's in your hands, it's your problem. You know, the word doctor comes from Latin, which means teacher. And every doctor's responsibility is to assist the patient in teaching them what they can do and give their power back to them so they can find the answers and do the work. But if you don't do the work, you're acting like a victim. And there's a big price to pay for that.
My neck is already hurting, Jim. Hey, thank you very much. I know you did us the favor to have this in between your clients, and I'm really, I know we can talk for hours on this, and we will later, but I know your next patient is in just a few minutes. So this was amazing. Is there a summary, executive summary that you want to leave with our friends today?
Absolutely, there always is, you know. But I would say there's probably two of them if I can. The first one is, don't give up your personal power. And there's this great line that says, if it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. The other aspect of wellness that's critical is being of service to others. And remember that a candle that has a flame never loses its light when it lights another candle. So the information that these people that have connected today, these wonderful people that are there trying to learn more to improve their lives, take this information and share it with others. Share it with others so that they too can benefit from the small information that you received today. So just share it, because that's a healing activity that will serve you as much as anyone else. But I want to thank you, Alex, for this opportunity, because what you've done for me today is confirm and allow me to continue to live my mission. Even after 43 years of service, I can never think about retiring. My vocation is my vacation, and I love what I do. So I do really appreciate this time, and it certainly was not an inconvenience at any level. And I'm looking forward to meeting with you and having a great in-person contact so we can spend hours together. You're my brother.
That is true. Thank you very much. You're a rock star, and I really hope that a lot of people had a chance to actually meet you in person and just feel your heart and just see what a wonderful person you are. And thank you very much for this time. Thank you for the support that you have always shown every time we have asked you for these kind of interviews. And yes, we will be spreading this long and wide, so a lot of people can save their necks and their kids' necks and everybody's necks and backs and lower backs, and be healthy, because we better do. We only have this body for as long as we keep it, so we might as well do it. So thank you very much. This, as I told you, this is a series of videos on wellness and well-being, part of the non-technical side of LOIT, because we also understand of that balance that needs to be there. And yes, we have to be very proficient and make money and be busy and be professional and help others, but we have to help ourselves and be healthy to do the rest. So thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. And thank you to all for spending this time with us. And by all means, just make sure that this video you can share with whomever you want. It's free. It's for the benefit of many. So thank you very much to all of you, and to you, Jim. Thank you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.